If you feel like you are currently in an unwanted situation in your life and you don't know how to get out, well then you manifested the right video, because I'm about to give you the cheat code for how you can turn this unwanted situation into your desired reality, and there's just one thing that you need to say. Alright, so we are going to use the multiverse here to shift timelines, and I talk about the multiverse a little bit more in one of my previous videos called How to Shift into Your Desired Reality using the multiverse and using parallel reality. So I'll link that video in the description below in case you want to watch that for a more detailed look at the multiverse and how to use it to shift realities. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to give you a quick recap of what the multiverse is so you can understand a little bit more about what we are doing here when we are merging your current timeline with the timeline of your desired reality. So basically, you are existing currently as a human on planet Earth, living out one singular timeline from birth to death, right? So in your current perspective, living in the 3D reality, you perceive of one singular timeline from birth to death. But you also exist in a second perspective that is located in a different dimensional reality, and this is what is often called your higher self. So in order for you to incarnate as a human on planet Earth, your higher self had an intention to experience this reality, and so it projected a portion of its energy down into the 3D reality so it could exist within the 3D reality. So basically, now that you are projected into the 3D reality, you have 2 points of perspective. You have your perspective of living one singular timeline from birth to death in the 3D reality, and you have the perspective of your higher self. And here's where things get interesting when we talk about the multiverse. So from the perspective of your higher self is not just looking at this one singular timeline that you're aware of. Your higher self is looking at all of the possible potential timelines for your life as if they are happening simultaneously. And these timelines can be created in a lot of different ways. Every time that you have a desire for something, a new timeline is created within the multiverse. So basically, if you desire something, the timeline for you receiving that desire is automatically played out. It is automatically created in the multiverse or in the quantum field, because your higher self does not have this limitation that we have in the 3D reality of space and time, right? So your higher self can instantly manifest you getting the desire and see how that plays out in your life as soon as you desire it. Another way that you can create a timeline in the multiverse is by making choices. So if you're going to college and you're deciding between being a lawyer or an accountant, even though from your 3D reality you would have to choose one of these choices and live that out and experience the consequences of that, from your higher self's perspective, both choices are played out because your higher self wants to see the different potentials. So your higher self is essentially seeing you from a perspective that allows it to see you living out 2 different choices simultaneously on 2 different life paths. So that is why people say when you desire something, it is already created, it already exists in the quantum field, and you just need to line up with that frequency. What you are lining up with is the frequency of the timeline in the multiverse that your higher self created when you desired that manifestation. So all that being said about the multiverse, what we are going to try to do here, if we are on the timeline that has put us into an unwanted situation, we want to actually do a timeline merger, and we want to merge our current timeline with the timeline of our desired reality, the timeline that we would prefer to be on in the situation that we want to be in. So I want you to ask yourself something now. Within this situation that you are in, this unwanted situation, has it caused you to desire something else? If the answer is yes, then you are in luck, because that means that your desired reality already exists. So if you're desiring being in a different reality, being in a different situation, and you don't want to be in your current situation, this realization should offer you a little bit of relief, because it means that you don't have to create anything, manifest anything. It's already been created by your higher self. And this life path that you desire to be on is actually already happening simultaneously along with your current life path. So you're actually already in your desired reality, even if you are not perceiving of it from your current timeline. So when it comes to what you actually need to do, if you're going to merge your unwanted situation timeline with your desired reality timeline, it's actually not that complicated. It's actually very simple. We need to take your current 3D perspective and we need to merge it with the perspective of your higher self. So what we are going to do here is we are just going to put on our computer programmer hats. We are going to detach ourselves from this situation a little bit and understand that even though from our perspective, this situation is real, the emotions that we are feeling, they are real, the pain is real, everything that we are feeling from this perspective, this reality, it's real and it's happening, but it's not the only possibility for us. So we want to allow ourselves to kind of feel this and accept it. And then after that, we want to kind of detach. We want to let go of some of the emotional attachment that we have to our current situation. And after we're in this place of acceptance of our current reality, and we are able to detach a little bit from this reality and understand that just because it's happening now doesn't mean that it's all that is, doesn't mean that there's no better realities out there for us. Once we understand this, we can kind of detach from this reality, detach from this timeline, and then we are more free to move our energy out of our current 3D timeline into the perspective of our higher self, where we are able to perceive of all timelines simultaneously. So then from that wider perspective, all that you need to do is shift your frequency into the timeline where your current unwanted situation merges with your desired reality. So it's all about moving our consciousness up to the perspective of our higher self. And then from that perspective, we are going to shift our frequency. So it's almost like putting on your computer programmer hat and detaching from how the website looks, and instead going into the back end of the website, retyping some of the code so that what is reflected on the website changes. And this is why when I teach people about instant manifestation or manifesting faster, I teach them to line up with the perspective of their higher self, because this is the cheat code to instant manifestation. Because if you mess around here in the 3D world trying to manifest instantly, it's not going to be possible. But instant manifestation itself is possible, but it is only possible when you are able to line up with the perspective of your higher self. Because like I mentioned, your higher self is not constrained by space and time, and so your higher self can manifest instantly. So when you're in the perspective of your higher self, it's like going into the back end of a computer and coding things differently or reprogramming things differently so that it instantly reflects on the screen of the computer that you're looking at. And when you're manifesting from your 3D reality, it's like you're looking at your computer, you're trying to change what is being reflected back to you on your computer by typing things into the front end of the computer, by typing in a new website address, by adding a new app. And so you can change the computer through this way as well. But when you're in your higher self perspective, you have more power to change the interface of the computer or the entire timeline. And so all that being said, here is the one thing that you need to say that will put you on the right vibrational frequency where your current timeline merges into the timeline of your desired reality. And saying this one affirmation will manifest you out of any unwanted circumstance. I align with the timeline where all of this works out in my favor to lead me to my desired reality now. I choose with my free will to shift into this timeline now. So saying this one affirmation will send a message to your higher self, like putting in an order for your higher self to create a new timeline, a timeline where the timeline that you are currently on merges with and transforms into the timeline of your desired reality. But there is one other component that I want you to add to this affirmation that first of all will guarantee that it works, and second of all will speed up the process. And this element is faith. So Napoleon Hill actually talks about this quite a bit in his book Think and Grow Rich. And can I just say for a moment, Napoleon Hill is like the businessman's Neville Goddard. Like, is he not? When I started reading this book, I was like shook on how many things he is saying that Neville Goddard also says. I thought this book was going to be just about money and business and how to change your mindset to be successful in business. But this man is straight up teaching law of assumption principles, like straight up teaching Neville Goddard. And I feel like nobody tells you this. I was like shocked. I didn't know this. Anyways, he says in this book, all thoughts which have been emotionalized, which is to give feeling to the thoughts and mix with faith, immediately begin to translate themselves into their physical equivalents or counterparts. So what he is saying here is that when you mix the emotion of faith with the affirmation, it essentially speeds up the manifestation process and makes your affirmation a lot more powerful. So when you are passing along a desire to your subconscious mind that you want translated into physical matter, you want to pass it along in a state of expectancy or faith that the transmutation will actually take place. According to Hill, your belief of faith is the element that determines the action of your subconscious mind. And according to the CIA, your subconscious mind is the holographic system that projects forth your holographic 3D reality. So there you go. It's all coming together now. And Hill goes on to say, if you want to make this more realistic, conduct yourself just as you would as if you were already in possession of the material object that you are demanding when you call upon your subconscious mind. Again, can I say it? The businessman's Neville Goddard. Am I right? Like, no one tells you this. And then he goes on to say, the subconscious mind will transmute into its physical equivalent by the most direct and practical media available, any order which is given to it in a state of belief or faith that the order will be carried out. So when you are saying this affirmation that I gave you to merge your current timeline with your desired timeline, you want to mix this affirmation with the emotion of faith or a belief that this order will be carried out. So you want to be certain that this order will be carried out. You want to have faith that your higher self is carrying out this order because you said this affirmation. And honestly, this is a cheat code for all your affirmations, mixing all your affirmations with this belief, this emotion of faith that it will be carried out, because that will make them so much more powerful and that will speed up the manifestation process. And if you like this video and you do want to learn more about how you can shift realities and timelines using the multiverse and parallel realities, check out my video here, how to shift into your desired reality using the multiverse and using parallel realities. In this video, I will give you a step-by-step process that you can use that will allow you to easily shift timelines and realities in the multiverse.